Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelove and this is Speedplay Touggourt number 19. So we find ourselves in a rare moment of peace, but with a few rebellions going on. Now, we are in a bit of an early version of the game, so we have to really make sure that we get rid of these rebellions before they siege the provinces, or we'll lose all of our progress towards coring. Meanwhile, the Ottomans are still in a very bad situation, but they do have a regency council, so I'm not too worried about taking advantage of it just at this point. We get another series of rebellions, luckily where our army is already at, so it's not really all that concerning. So we just send our forces over to deal with that, and from there, we have the ability to go essentially anywhere. We can't really clean up East Africa right now as we're still coring, and I don't want to delay that at all. And the Ottoman armies are still a little bit strong, however they are pretty spread out. I really want to take care of Sub-Saharan Africa, so we're going to send some forces down to them. We get another rebellion. Luckily, at this point, we've pretty much got our force projection on point, and we can send armies really anywhere in the empire relatively quickly. One exception may end up being Sub-Saharan Africa. Luckily, we have our client states there. But it's probably best that we build them up even further. Greece gets its independence, which really is just absurd. I haven't seen Greece form in most of the games that I play. We immediately declare war on them to take their lands over. It'll almost certainly break our alliance with the Ottomans, but that cements that we are turning against the Ottomans. I want that Greek land. There is a Greek city that borders Constantinople. It's just something that we need to do. We also start declaring wars in Sub-Saharan Africa and just generally throughout the world, including against Persia and Mexico. As right now, we are going to just start going into all of these wars, declaring all the wars that we can fight at once, and hopefully just increasing our position everywhere in the world. We go ahead and begin splitting our armies up in Greece, as well as throughout our other fronts. We begin building all the mercenaries that are available, and hopefully they'll all get together in a relatively quick amount of time so we can use them in the Greek campaigns. Not that I'm worried about their armies, but just to quickly siege them. Meanwhile, in Mexico, our allies are doing very well, and we just begin shoveling forces over. Now, one major concern is that this will definitely end our alliance with the Ottomans. They still have cores on all of this Greek land, and they're not going to be at all happy with us for taking it. Another main concern is going to be our overextension. We can hopefully peace out with a few of the individual members first. Unfortunately, in Sub-Saharan Africa, we can't give land to our client states while we're in other wars, so we're just going to have to delay making peace. And the Mexicans aren't quite ready to accept our demands just yet, even though there's no way they can realistically win. So we're going to have to wait quite a bit and just begin sieging out the Greeks and everywhere else. We are also in a war against the French, who just defeat our navy immediately. Realistically, our war score is fairly good despite the fact that we can't actually fight them off, so we're probably just going to wait until we can eventually get a white peace, and that'll probably be the limiting factor in the long run, as we will have to wait to make peace in Sub-Saharan Africa until we can make peace with the French, as the main concern is going to be avoiding being over 100% overextension for too long, although I don't actually believe we'll manage to stay. We do notice that the French, who occupied Spain entirely, make peace, and it's a very incredibly light peace, which is a little offensive in some ways, but the Spanish Empire is already mostly broken up, so I'm not too upset. We lose another naval battle, which is a bit of a bummer, but we can hopefully get our navy together and destroy a small French fleet in the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, we go ahead and declare war in Siberia and go ahead and attack that one independent Siberian state. We get a call to arms from Brazil, but although it isn't in Spain, which is incredibly weak right now, I go ahead and just ignore it and let it fall off, as we need to finish all of these 6 wars. We don't really need a 7th. Usually I would have taken that opportunity to declare our own separate war against Spain and thus keep our alliance with Brazil, but they're not that valuable of an ally, and I don't want them to just suck us into foreign wars. The only ally I would really consider doing that for is the Ottomans, and they're essentially gone at this point. Meanwhile, in Mexico, they'll now give us the lands that we had declared the war for, which is just the connecting bits, but at this point, they waited too long and I want more, and we're going to just get a lot more a lot quicker as their war enthusiasm plummets. In Greece, we've nearly occupied the entire country, however I missed a couple islands. We do go ahead and take over that Siberian state, and we move our armies around in sub-Saharan Africa. The French are really doing damage to our Italian holdings, but we can hopefully get rid of them with just a simple peace deal, as we are winning what the war is actually about, which is South America. And we're doing so well that I'm not even bothering to look at it. As long as we defeat Mexico, our client states, or colonial nations, should be able to take care of it on their own. And we go ahead and get a peace deal set up with the Greeks, and I realize that we may have gone a little bit overzealous with that. The Ottomans immediately break their alliance, which was definitely going to happen. We begin making peace with Mexico, and we do actually make that peace. Nova Touggourt is now very, very powerful, and we annex these two sub-Saharan African states and begin giving their lands to our client states. Now we're going to have to sell a couple provinces to the Ottomans and probably at least one back to the Greeks, as we are at around 130% overextension. And there's really no workaround for that. We'll just have to sell a few places back. We do go ahead and sell this one sub-Saharan African place to Songhai, and we're probably just going to end up declaring war on Songhai in a few moments. We'll also be able to declare war on the Greeks and hopefully annex them once our peace treaty expires. Now, the Ottomans are still in a regency council, which means that we can just continue to ignore them and go off our separate ways, which is going to be Songhai. Now, Songhai is a pretty powerful state, probably going to be a bit of a hassle to invade, if for no other reason than because it's just such a long march that our troops are going to have a bit of difficulty getting there in a timely manner. We'd also declare war on Syria because this is the episode of multiple wars at a single point. And unfortunately, we lose a battle in sub-Saharan Africa and in Songhai. We send reinforcements, but it doesn't look as though they're actually going to do much better. And there's a very large Greek revolt. At this point, we've stopped increasing the autonomy of provinces. We do lose a battle. But at the very least, in Syria, we're doing relatively well. We're beginning to spread out and carpet siege, which is an increasingly archaic thought, but the campaign's nearly over. In sub-Saharan Africa, we are still making progress despite those few setbacks, and we're probably just going to take our large Greek army and drop it off in Syria to just assure our victory there. Meanwhile, Songhai is nearly sieged out. We do send our massive new reinforcing army into Syria, and that's basically going to end the war, as there is nothing they'll be able to do to compensate for our massive influx of troops. We begin sending our forces over. Songhai is almost completely defeated. We redact one of our policies, which gave us an extra colonist, as there's just not very much left in the world to colonize. The world is a very small place at this point, and we've nearly defeated Songhai. Nova Touggourt's doing very well, and ultimately we are in a very good place. We even go ahead and get our forces ready to declare these two wars on those two one-province miners in East Africa. Kaffa is still there, but we can hopefully just annex them in a single war at some later point. Realistically, the biggest thing is going to be turning on the Ottomans, and quite frankly, we don't have enough time for that in this episode. But with Songhai nearly defeated, Syria almost completely annexed, we've gotten essentially 2 full wars of land out of the Ottomans just due to all of those successful rebellions, and since they've been in a regency council this entire time, they haven't been able to do anything to stop us. So in the next war, or in the next episode, but also in the next war, we're going to declare on the Ottomans and hopefully just devastate them. Ideally, we'll take Iraq and the area around Constantinople. Songhai we can now make peace with, which we're first going to make peace with their allies. And we do definitely need to make sure that we make peace with everyone else, as we will be incredibly overextended, and we need our client states to just absorb that, because we will sell them all of the lands or just go through the menu and give them the lands. And we go ahead and begin. I'm not entirely certain where we're going to draw the border, so I do take a look at the various regional map modes so it can make at least some level of sense, although admittedly it just comes down to my own personal taste, and that's probably going to just be due to what makes it look with the best borders. Or what makes it look the best with the best borders, I should say. Now, I had wanted to get an entire path connecting us to the wasteland so we have a direct line of control, but that brings us to about 104% overextension, and I just can't justify it as much as I would like to. Now, with that all said and done, we do need to get ready to declare war on the Ottomans, as a coalition will probably at least join them. The Austrians are in the coalition against us, and if we wait too long, the Ottomans will almost certainly join against us as well, which means now is our time. We have to declare on the Ottomans very soon, or the opportunity is going to leave us. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.